Looking for an epic mid-length surfboard to add to your quiver? Well, let's talk about the Thunderbolt Ova from Skindog Surfboards. Hi guys, Chris from Stoked for Travel here. Welcome back to the channel. And before I get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out any video goodness. Now today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite types of surfboard, the mid-length surfboard. I'm a huge fan of mid-length surfboards. I've made a few guides over the years, and if you haven't already checked those out, make sure you check out the links in the description below. And when I finally got my hands on the Ova by Skindog Surfboards in Thunderbolt technology, I wasn't really sure what to make of the board, what I was really expecting, but it's since become one of my favorite boards in my quiver, and I've recently taken it on my most recent trip to Sri Lanka as well. So if you're looking for a mid-length to add to your quiver, this is definitely a review you should pay attention to. So who is the Skindog Ova aimed at? Well, the Skindog Ova, like a lot of mid-length surfboards, promises a lot of things for a lot of different surfers. But honestly, I really do think the Ova delivers on these points. I've surfed it from everything from knee-high and a bit mushy right through to overhead on a reeling point break. And this thing's handled everything I can throw at it, and it's just super fun to surf. For those at the lower end of the spectrum, this board has a lot of stability and a lot of paddle power, so it's going to keep your wave count high, and it's also going to really give you that froth factor, which is going to help you progress. More so, it's also going to be a board that you're really going to grow into, and as your surfing skills progress, you'll unlock more and more of the performance of the board. For surfers intermediate upwards, the sheer versatility in the wave size that this board can handle is really going to make it super fun and almost make it that one board quiver. And of course, the fact that you can customize the fin setup to suit your own style, and of course the wave type you're surfing, is also going to make it a great board for a huge variety of surfers. And then there's longboarders looking to drop down in size. This board still has a lot of longboard DNA built into it, and you're really going to appreciate the style and the trim that the board has while still getting that performance of a shorter board under your feet as well. So yeah, the Skindog Ova is going to tick a lot of boxes for a lot of different people. Now let's talk board breakdown and dimensions. Now currently the Skindog Ova comes in 3 different sizes, the 7.0, the 7.6 and the 8.0 model. Now for me, I went for the 7.0, which is 7.0 by 22 by 2 7/8 and is 47 litres. Now there's 3 different reasons I opted to go for this size. The first is I wanted a mid-length that I could take traveling with me if I wanted to. And 7.0 tends to be that kind of cut-off point where a lot of airlines stop being able to take that as a surfboard on your luggage allowance and you start having to freight it. So 7.0 tends to be a really nice option for traveling. Secondly, I wanted a board that I could still throw around a bit. So that little bit of smaller sizing compared with the 7.6 just gave me that little bit extra performance. And also when it came to the volume as well and the dims on the board, the jump between the 7.0 and the 7.6, just that 7.6 looked that little bit too chunky for me. Now I'm 185 centimeters and about 83 kilos, and honestly I feel like I've made a good decision with the 7.0. Doesn't feel undergunned, I still got a lot of performance in there, but I don't feel like I've lost a lot of paddle power. I think that beefy chunk up to that 7.6 would have really killed that board for me and made it feel a bit boaty underneath me. That being said though, the 7.6 and the 8.0 options are definitely going to be a really good option to look into if you are kind of at the lower end of the surfing skill level. I'm talking kind of high-end beginner, lower-end intermediate, or you're surfing consistently smaller waves as well. It's going to give you that little bit of extra float and that little bit of extra paddle power. And those bigger sizes may also be worth looking into if you are a taller or heavier surfer as well, as it slightly balances out that kind of volume and performance. But yeah, for me, the 7.0 ticks all the boxes. Now when it comes to the board breakdown itself, it's got everything you need to have a really good amount of fun and a lot of paddle power. So you've got those soft 50-50 rails, you've got that wide point front of center and that slightly flatter rocker profile, which is going to glide you into those waves, coast through those dead sections, just keep your wave count super high. Combine all these factors with a hull entry and a sharper rail line through that tail, and you've got all the ingredients you need for a lot of performance and maneuverability in there as well, especially if you're a more experienced surfer. So yeah, the Skindog Ova is Skindog's take on the traditional egg with a few tweaks to make it even more fun. Now when it comes to the ideal wave conditions for the Skindog Ova, it is really versatile, and I've surfed it in everything from small and mushy through to punchy beach breaks to reeling points and everything in between, and it's taken everything in its stride. On those smaller mushy days, you're really going to enjoy the like cruisy mid-length feel, and it's going to make small work of those kind of dead sections. And when it gets a bit bigger and punchier, you're really going to enjoy the performance, liveliness and speed of this board. So it's one of those boards that can handle everything you can throw at it, so it's a great one to throw in the car if you don't know what the conditions are doing. With that in mind as well, it's also a great travel surfboard as well. So if you're heading to spots like Sri Lanka, which can have a bit of smaller, fatter stuff, and a few days that are bigger and punchy, it's going to be a great board to chuck in as almost a one board quiver. So yeah, the Skindog Ova is pretty much going to take everything you can throw at it. Now when it comes to fin setup in the Ova, you really are spoiled for choice with that 5-fin setup. This means you can ride it as a quad, you can ride it as a single fin, or you can ride it as a single fin with side bites, or I guess you could mix it up and use something like the Harley Ingleby fins and have it as that more kind of longboard thruster-esque style setup. For me, the 2+1, so the single fin with the 2 side bites, has been my go-to from day one in the Ova. And I've loaded up the Skindog 7-inch center fin with the Skindog side bites, which are the fins that were actually made with this board in mind. Now when I first put this in the board, especially the 7.0 version, I did think it looked very over-finned for the size of board it was. I was a little bit worried it was going to feel stiff under the feet, but you know, I trusted the shaper, I trusted that Skindog has done his job correctly and designed some really good fins for this board. First wave I got, all my fears were completely alleviated and the board went beautifully. Had a lot of drive, a lot of control, but also still a lot of maneuverability despite the amount of fins sat in the back boxes of that board. So yeah, the single fin with side bites has been my absolute go-to on that, and I'm not changing that anytime soon. Honestly, I haven't tested it out as a quad yet. I've heard a lot of good things. I've heard it's a really good way if you're heading to some bigger, punchier surf, so like head high and above, or slightly more hollow waves. Then the quad gives you a lot of control and a lot of drive, as you'd expect from a quad fin setup. And actually, one of my followers sent me some pictures of him riding his Ova as a quad in Roti in Indonesia, and he was absolutely macking out double overhead, and he said it went absolutely great. So if you are charging those bigger waves, or you do want that little bit of extra control in those hollower conditions, the quad might also be worth testing out. But for me, the single fin with side bites is definitely the way to go. Now when it comes to construction, the Ova comes in Thunderbolt Red technology. This is basically the mid-ground between the heavier, more traditional feeling Thunderbolt Silver and the lighter, more performance-orientated Thunderbolt Black. So it's a really good all-round construction for a lot of people. It's very durable and also really strong and light as well. If you are based in the UK as well, you can also order an Ova direct from Skindog Surfboards in Newquay, and you can get it in traditional fiberglass PU construction. So what's the Skindog Ova like to actually surf? Well look, I'll be totally honest, when I first got this board, I really wasn't sure what to expect from it. And I wasn't quite sure how it was going to handle in the water. The hull entry was something a little bit new to me. I was feeling up and down the rails of this board and I was like, not really sure how this is going to go. And I was a little bit apprehensive. However, from my first wave, I was absolutely hooked on this mid-length surfboard and it went like an absolute dream. For me, who absolutely loves longboarding, I could tell that 12 times European longboard champion Ben Skinner had designed this board as it had a very longboard-esque feel to the way it rode. Kind of trimmed really nicely, had a really nice flow to it along the wave, but then still had plenty of performance of flick off the tail when you hit that end section, and it just moved around really nicely under my feet. On those smaller mushy days, it just trims and cruises beautifully and you just have plenty of fun. And on those kind of bigger, punchier days, you know you can push it really hard, drive into those fins, and it's going to handle everything you can throw at it. For me, it's one of those boards that just really ticks the boxes for traveling. I took it recently for a 2-week trip to Sri Lanka, and I surfed everything from really small mushy stuff, kind of just above knee high, to just overhead, and it handled everything I could throw at it. I just felt really fun and lively, and like I was just hoovering up waves. There was one session I had at Insights. I caught 32 waves in 2 hours, just absolutely went to town. The board was great at paddling, caught waves super early, avoided all the crowds, and it was just beautiful to surf. I've also surfed it quite a bit back here in Australia as well, in punchier beach breaks and also spots like Lennox Point, and it handled everything I could throw at it. Just felt really nice underfoot and really suited my style of surfing. It's also one of those boards that I think you could give to pretty much anyone and they're going to have fun on it as long as they're not a complete beginner. It's one of those boards that you'll grow into, your style will kind of soak up the different aspects of the board depending on how you want to surf and also the waves you're surfing as well. So in terms of surfing this board, it feels absolutely beautiful and I'm really struggling to get off it. So what's my final verdict on this Skindog Ova, and should you be adding this mid-length to your quiver? Well, if you haven't already guessed from the rest of this review, I'm absolutely frothing on this board and it's quickly become a firm favourite in my quiver, despite the fact that I really didn't know much about the board before I grabbed it. I really didn't know what to expect from it. It's just got the fun factor, and I think that's the big selling point here, as it is with a lot of mid-lengths. I just caught loads of waves on it, it's handled everything I could throw at it, it feels great underfoot, it glides through those dead sections, but also has that performance when I need it as well. So yeah, if you're looking for a fun board that you're going to catch heaps of waves on and keep the stoke high, this is definitely one for you. Now when it comes to price point, as with all the Thunderbolt technology boards, it is a premium price tag board. Comes in at just over 1,000 Aussie dollars, £1,000, 1,000 US, depending on what currency you're working with. But is it worth the money? Personally, I think this board definitely is. It's a board you're going to absolutely love in your quiver. It's got so much versatility and it's going to appeal to so many different servers that I really think you're getting your money's worth out of this board. It's also worth noting that Harley Ingleby and the Thunderbolt team are about to relaunch all the Thunderbolt boards in new colorways and new designs. So keep an eye out for them. Check out the links in the description below to the full list of Thunderbolt boards that are coming your way. But yeah, in terms of pricing, froth factor, the Thunderbolt Ova definitely ticks all the boxes. For me, it's definitely going to be one I'm going to be riding a lot. And there you have it, guys. That's my full review of the Skindog Ova in Thunderbolt technology. Now, if you have any other questions about the Ova or any other mid-length surfboards, make sure you add them to the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Of course, check out the links in the description below to all my other reviews, guys, and more. That's it for this week, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. You!